Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. This podcast is for and about women of colour and our relationship with nature. Hosted by me, Cherie Mack. The Earth, Sea, Love podcast is committed to exploring the experiences of women of colour with Mother Nature. We want to provide spaces where the hidden voices in the environmental and conservation conversations can explore their relationship with the natural world. Inspired by our time spent outdoors, we amplify the voices of women of colour, our stories, our conversations, interviews, photography, writing, and artwork. We'll be exploring our legacies, histories, and memories which have had an influence and effect upon how we perceive ourselves within the natural world and within the environmental and climate justice movements. Welcome to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. The Earth, Sea, Love podcast has been made possible by the funding from National Lottery Heritage Fund. Thank you. Black British mothers are 5 times more likely to die in childbirth than their white counterparts. 49% of black women ages 20 and older have heart disease. Nearly 50,000 black women die every year from cardiovascular diseases, including heart disease and stroke. 13% of black women have type 2 diabetes. 56% of black women are considered obese, which drastically increases the risk factors for these chronic diseases. Overall, when you factor in certain cancers, nearly 200,000 African Americans die from preventable chronic diseases every year. That's nearly 550 people a day in America, and the majority are women. I tell you these statistics because this is our reality. And this episode, with me talking to Jola, comes to you in 2 parts. The first part, we discuss Jola's presence here in the UK from Nigeria, the contrast of growing up in Nigeria and now living first in Durham and then Newcastle, and what she has gone through in terms of racism within the education system and the National Health Service here in the UK. I have placed these in 2 halves because in parts it's heavy going as we talk about racism, but always a laugh there in the background, not too far away. And what is a beacon for Jola, apart from nature, which we will explore in the second part, has been her relationship with the Angelou Centre. And the Angelou Centre is a black women's led centre offering support, education, refuge for black and brown women of colour who find themselves in the northeast. And this is a rare place within the UK where black women are safe, feel safe, welcomed and loved. And we should have more places and spaces like this available to us where we live in a vile and violent society which looks upon our bodies with disgust and cruelty. I hope you take the time to listen to this episode as well as the second episode, which will follow close upon its heels. Welcome to the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. First of all, hello and welcome at the Earth, Sea, Love podcast.
Hello.
Today is such a special day. Because I don't know if you've looked on Tinternet today already, but we launched the whole shebang today. The Earth, Sea, Love podcast went live at at 12 a.m. this morning, and we dropped 4 episodes all at once. And I'm so happy and I'm grateful that you're here. And I'm happy and I'm grateful that there's so many people have downloaded it already. So I'm so pleased that we're doing this now, so we can mark the occasion even more so with talking to each other and connecting with each other over our love of nature.
Yes. Wow, that's fantastic news. That's exciting.
It is. But Jola, let's talk about you today. How have you been? How have you been keeping during these troubling times? I know you can't tell me where you are specifically, but have you got eyes on nature?
I've been up and down. I noticed that because of isolation, I've been my window faces an abandoned factory that's just like concrete walls without any windows for some reason. They've like paved over the windows. It's really creepy at night. But fortunately, I'm within like walking distance to a park. Well, a few parks actually. So now I just go out. I got some plants that I was trying to spruce my room up with, get some green in there. But I don't have a green thumb. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just really dry in my room. They haven't been doing so well, so I put them all outside to let nature take care of itself. I don't seem to be able to do that.
I have been with you like that in the past. I have had a number of plants who have died on me, and I haven't really been doing anything wrong. I don't think so. But now I've got cacti. Cacti are so hardy, and they are flourishing on my kitchen windowsill. So I recommend getting some cacti.
I might do that actually.
Yeah.
Because I got aloe, and for some reason, like the leaves just started like withering, and I thought maybe where I was putting them, I moved them to like my bookshelf, the top of my bookshelf. That wasn't working. Put them in the window, and I just thought my room is just really dry. So I've got a humidifier, but unfortunately, aloe didn't make it. So.
I call mine have all different names. My past aloe vera plant was called Ali, but he didn't make it. And I put him in that bedroom where it was supposed to be really good for purifying the air, unless our air was so toxic that it just killed the poor thing, because like it went all soggy and droopy and. No, so I've got a new one, but I haven't called him Ali because I don't think that would be respectful to call them all Alis. And he seems to be doing all right. Again, on my kitchen window, I don't know if it's because of the light that we get in there. But I do a lot of time in the kitchen, so maybe it's because they like my company. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it could be like they like it. They like the activity of it all in the kitchen, and they're like,
Maybe.
"Oh, people, yes." Whilst in the bedroom, it's like sleep. No, we want fun. I might have a look down a few shops and see if I could get some cacti and make some new friends.
Yeah, no, that I would definitely go that way. So you don't have eyes on nature directly outside
Yeah,
of your window, because
yeah.
so this must mean you are city centre based. But there are a few green spaces around in the city. I mean, I think
Mm.
we're pretty well catered for in Newcastle city centre, don't you think, for green spaces in the urban area?
Yeah, I think we are, but we need more.
Of of course, we don't ever have enough in the city, but yeah, we need more.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. But I think we've got quite a few lovely spaces close by to me, and like Leisures Park from Nunsmore is quite an easy walk as well. So it's quite nice when you go out there and just you know you feel your spirit feeling so much better than being trapped in a box all day. Yeah, it is a very trying time for a lot of people, and yeah, sucking, draining.
but I totally get you.
Mm,
Yeah, and I have been myself up and down during this
mm,
period, and I've found that I've been out there, and I mean out there physically, and then out there literally, like on social media or the website or writing, and then there's only so much I can give, and then I have to withdraw and come back
mm,
in and fill up my own well, make sure I'm taking care of myself. And
mm.
that is by, making sure I'm drinking my enough water, getting some greens into me, resting, and then also journaling. Leaning
Yeah,
into my creative practice has been helpful. So just thinking about that, I mean, that's how we met in a sense. And I don't know
mm,
if you want to talk a little bit here about the Angelou Centre, because I do believe that's how we met. That I came
yeah,
into the Angelou Centre to do some creative writing workshops with Ada, who's
yeah.
doing art. So
Mm,
do you want to talk a little bit about the Angelou Centre for our listeners who know
yeah.
nothing about this wonderful place?
Yeah. The Angelou Centre is a Black women's led feminist organization. It's run for and by, and it's basically like a safe space, a home in Newcastle for a lot of women, providing support in different kinds of ways, including, well, holistically, including training, um, domestic violence support for women and their children, mental health support. It's a community support. It does a lot of things that you can't really like just say, oh, they do only one thing, because it connects into a whole host of things. Um, and a lot of the work also supports BME migrant women who have come from outside of the UK or are currently living in the UK for different reasons. So it could be a VOG related, so violence against women and girls, and not just in terms of violence from one's community and one's family. It also goes into state violence as well. So it's an amazing space. I personally didn't know about it. I was referred to the Angelou Centre by someone from the Click Sergeant, so the cancer research, young people's cancer, like what is it, social work, support staff. Um, uh, and once I heard the name Angelou, I was like, I love my Angelou, so yes, I'm gonna go see and talk to someone. It was such a welcoming space for me.
Yeah.
And yes, I did meet you through the center, because one of the first courses that I did enjoy was the art sessions, so the creative arts. through Ada. And I remember you coming in, and you were like this ray of sunshine, like positive energy, like you know how I don't know if people watch like manga and stuff. It's like oh, boom. So it was really lovely, and I was loving everything and the energy. It just made me feel so much better. And I even talked to my friend, who for a long time she'd been supporting me, and I said, would you like to come? Yeah, you would love Sheree. You've got to come. So she came in and she was like, oh, wow. So yeah, and it's been such an amazing experience getting to know you, and you've introduced me to a lot of different people and made me feel very at home and connected in the community. But you've also got me out in nature again, which is something that I love doing, but I've been quite afraid to do.
Yeah.
Especially of things changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, like, people think I get people on here, women on here, to talk about me and talk about what I'm doing, but it isn't the case, right? But it is a case that I do foster a connection, I do think, with everyone who's on this podcast, and I can come into the Angelou Centre like a ray of sunshine, because the Angelou Centre, as you've said, is so welcoming. It is such a safe haven for Black, Asian and ethnic minority women's bodies, because that is a space where we feel safe, that we don't have to keep looking at our back and to be looking to see what trouble's coming or what violence is coming, or what we go through this society carrying a lot of pain and suffering, but also fear. On how our bodies are going to be seen and reacted to out there in society. So once we get into the Angelou Centre, we can sort of like take that body armor off, that no, I don't want that bulletproof or knife-proof vest that we have to we have around us as an armor, and in our Angelou Centre we can let it down and be ourselves and be our authentic self. And that is why the Angelou Centre is so important. And we must, in the show links, we must do a link to the Angelou Centre, and also where they can make some donations too, because it is a charity. It relies on funding from other bodies, public bodies, maybe some from the government, but not enough. And I know that they're going through a lot of work at the moment to support women who are not recognised by the state. What is it called again? Those women with no
recourse to public funds.
No recourse to public funds. And that means that women who might have been getting out of a domestic violent relationship are not recognised by the state for help and support. So they are actually destitute. They have no money coming in, and they might be like this with children as well. And this is where the Angelou Centre pick up these women and support them, because they do provide refuge spaces for these women, and they make sure that they get them back onto their feet by making sure that they have their legal status recognised, that they get some link into some funding or education or some employment. And I cannot rave enough about the Angelou Centre.
It's amazing.
And you said that you were referred there, so you have been a client of theirs or a user of theirs. That's the term that they use. But then also you are stepping up now to be there as a resource for other women. You are a trainer or a leader now within that organisation.
Like, as a women's champion who supports other women, and getting other women to also recognise, like, even those who have not heard about the centre, who I've met outside, when we do talk, you can tell it's a domestic violence situation or any other form of violence going on. Then I do refer them. I say, look, there is this place you can go to, and you will be safe, and you can talk to people, and not have to worry that someone's going to be judging you based on, oh, this person's not from here, so they definitely want something else out of it. No, I've just been traumatized. Don't try to re-traumatize me.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I came to the center, I think, in not 2006, 2016. Oh man, I wasn't even in the UK in 2006. But yeah, so I've had a lot of support through the center, and you are right in terms of like you can drop off all of this armor or protective shelling that you've got, because when I came in, I was in pieces. I was crying. I couldn't. There was just a lot going on at the time for me. And they were really understanding, and they listened to what I was saying, and they could understand without me having to explain my experience.
Yeah. And that's so important, to be in a space with other women that look like you and understand experience, so you don't have to go through all that rigmarole of educating them first or trying to explain yourself. It's not just trying to explain yourself, it's trying for them to see your very existence or being.
Or they don't understand why you've reacted to certain things this way, or what you're doing, and they find it a little bit odd. They just think you're a bit. They don't actually see you as you. There's caricatures of you that they just accept, and that's it.
Where did you come from to come to the UK, and why did you come to the UK? If you're willing to share that.
Yeah, so I came from Nigeria. I was born and mainly raised in Nigeria, in Lagos. Nigeria. Was born there, but I wasn't really raised as much in Lagos because my family moved around a lot. So one of the things about my upbringing was I did have bits of nature around me. So the areas where we lived had green spaces, and the houses had green spaces as well. So, you talk about a house, but most of the land was green. We had trees and bushes, berries, mangoes, papaya, everything that you could kind of like, and the grass was, so you had ladybugs and stray cats and just animals of all kinds. But the one thing that I did want to do a lot when I was growing up was to actually go out more into bigger green spaces, because Nigeria is known for rainforests and wild animals. Used to be a lot of dangerous animals, but still, I wanted to go out and see that, and my parents didn't approve. They just said, there's this idea in Nigeria: if you go hiking or you go camping in Nigeria, you just disappear. You die. It's bad. Don't you do it? I wanted to do all the stuff.
Are you saying that's an idea or a tradition or an actuality?
Yeah, it's like a belief. I don't even. I think it's not true 100%. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't dangers. I mean, being a woman in Nigeria and going out on your own to camp in the forest, I would say is very dangerous in certain situations and in certain areas. But there is this fear that is put, even if you're doing it as a group, even if you're doing it with friends, or you don't have to go deep into the jungle, but the idea of even going to a park, from my parents' perspective, was not acceptable.
Okay, and just to come in there, is that from a gender point of view?
I think it's a gendered point of view.
Okay.
Yeah. So gender-based violence in my country, and people sometimes don't see it as that. However, when you question what they're doing and you say, well, he's allowed to do it, why am I not? Then, but I think even camping idea for men, younger men, boys, wasn't seen as okay. But it was still allowed. You know, like boys were allowed to join scouts and stuff, and I wasn't. So I always loved nature and wanted to be out there more, but you know, because of all these fears and concerns, that was not allowed. You know, I remember camping, in quotations, was not camping. It was going to a religious event and sleeping in a house. That's not camping. In another house with different people, and I wanted the tent experience. I wanted to do that kind of stuff, and you know, it was a religious thing, not in the wilderness. It was in a residential area, and so it was just like being trapped in the city. And then I came here. I came to the UK mainly for studying. I came here as a student. I lived in London first, and initially, I thought the UK was strange because there was less green. One in London. I found it strange how the gardens were, and then there weren't a lot. There wasn't a lot of greenery going on.
So what did you? Sorry, you just cut out. What did you say about the gardens? The gardens were
small.
Oh,
so
okay.
the back gardens
Yeah.
were really small, but you know, you didn't have, you know, a lot of green going on outside. You know, so I thought it was very strange initially, and I had to get used to living in London for a while, and I think going to the parks, like the bigger parks, was okay, but it wasn't, for me, it felt very not, it didn't feel as good as coming up north, if you know what I mean. It felt a bit removed, that people were so removed from nature. You know, my standard commute was on trains, and all I saw were tall buildings, and you know, there wasn't greenery in a lot of spaces to go to college. Even the college sitting park, they only had like 6 trees, small trees. And I thought, well, this is supposed to be where people come out to have a break after classes. How do you refresh your brain? How do you wash your mind? You know? But after a while, you know, I did feel homesick, to be fair, initially. But there were other reasons that made me feel a bit more comfortable here. So in terms of my acceptance of self and independence, removal from a very restricted, controlling sort of situation, but also in terms of acceptance of oneself and their sexual orientation and their gender, who they are. That was something that I felt a bit more connected to here. You know, I didn't feel like people were gonna just turn around the clothes I was wearing, or say, you know, say those kinds of things. However, the other side of it was I was now a black woman in a white majority country, and people didn't really see me as me anymore. They just saw my body, basically.
A black body.
Yeah. And it was because coming from Nigeria, majority black country, you know, it's very diverse in culture, names, and you know, people can easily point out your identity just from your name. They know who you are, and you know, and where you come from. But here I was different. So it was very strange initially, and when I was looking for universities, I visited a lot of places, but Durham caught my attention because of its greenery. So initially I was like, "Oh, there's loads of trees here. I like it here. You know, there's a river. Oh God, this is great."
Yes.
I just thought, you know, initially And I know that's not what everyone looks at when they pick a university.
But it was important. It was important to you. So
Oh,
Durham, though,
mm,
has its greenery, but it also comes with its own problems.
yes.
You know, Durham is a northern. It's a northern city apparently
Mm,
because it has a cathedral, so it's classed as a city. But in a lot of ways, it's still very insular and narrow in its
yeah.
views and traditions. That's
Yeah.
me just going into Durham to visit. But you were actually living there for how long?
For 5 years. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
Yes, 5 years. When I got there, I had a tour with my sister, and she lived in Newcastle at the time. She was studying here, and I remember the first question she turned and said, "Jola, Jola." I said, "Yes." She said, "Where are all the black people?" And I said, uh, uh, "Don't know." I said, "Maybe because it's holidays or something, you know." I
Yes.
was trying to envision, like, it's going to be similar to London to some extent in terms of diversity, but that wasn't the case. So the Durham mindset, yeah, especially for students, is what they call the Durham bubble.
Uh-huh.
And it is kind of like people are trapped in this social idea of what they think and how they feel, and what they feel and think therefore becomes true in that
Well,
bubble.
yeah.
And then people started using terms of casual racism and, casual, it's just casual, it's not like I have bad intentions towards you. It's not like I'm harassing you, I'm making you uncomfortable in this space.
No, man.
So
Just lighten
it
up.
was.
It's
Mhm.
you that's got the problem, man. It's casual.
Exactly, but when you point it out, people just think, oh no, don't be upset, or you misunderstand, or it's just because of my experience from the fact that I'm well traveled. I can say all these horrifying things, or believe all these horrifying things, and that was mentally draining. I mean, I was already dealing with a lot in terms of my family and my education, and then that Durham itself as a space in terms of some of the students I experienced wasn't welcoming to me. Um, so I did end up taking up roles that were geared towards making international students feel welcomed. So I ran for international rep, and I tried my best to make people feel that Durham was their own space too.
Oh gosh,
You
yes.
deserve to be there. And don't let anyone try to take that away from you. Um, but it was very, very removed. Yeah. There were certain things that people did or felt they were okay to do. I remember it was in my first year, one of the senior students for some reason grabbed my bum and thought it was okay. And when I called him out on it, he blatantly just denied it, and he was like, "Oh, it's all in my head." Yeah. And it turned into maybe Jola's just being spiteful kind of thing, because I am a black woman, I'm not supposed to be as attractive, so therefore, he's in the right, because why would he do that to me? Which was horrible. But I also had people that, fortunately, I made friends who had a brain, and emotional consciousness to say, no, this is not right. And one of the experiences I had was at a one of our college days, and we were all sat in this marquee, and my friend and I were getting colors, which is like an award. And people were drunk and, sat down, but some people were late. I was focused on the event, and apparently the other man was pissed off that I was sat down. And he said, like, if things were the right way, I would be serving the tables and cleaning up the tables and not sitting down. Or better yet, I should be sat on the floor.
And he said
And
that within your hearing, to your face.
it happened within my hearing, which was like my friend sat, my best friend was sat next to me. I didn't even focus or hear any of that. But then she turned red with anger and just said, What? And I said, oh, come, what's happening? I didn't know what was going on until she explained it to me. And then I got angry. And, angry black woman stereotypes started to come up. And I told the college president actually what had happened, and I said, "Look, I don't know the boy's name. My friend can describe him to you because she was the one who heard this." And he just kind of told me to let it go. Like, they're just drunk boys, and you can't really do anything because you didn't hear it, and just let it go. And I remember going home that day and I wrote a poem about it, about how I felt and how ignorant that person was, but how violated I felt as well. That someone would just turn and say that so openly and think that and open.
And I think that that's okay and it's acceptable and that he would get away with it, and he did get away with it.
He did get away with it. I felt really unwelcome in that space.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I moved on and this changed my course. I lived in Durham still for a while until I became ill. I was diagnosed later with ovarian cancer, and my experience at the hospital at Durham Hospital was terrible. I remember crying in pain because the tumor was crushing my ovary. And one of the nurses said to me, you're a black woman. You shouldn't be crying, screaming out so much. You're stronger. You're stronger than this.
Oh, yeah, that's another one of those stereotypes, isn't it? That we can take the pain.
Yeah, we can handle the pain. She was supposed to give me regular pain medicine whilst I was in the hospital. And I was like, in shock that she would say that to me.
Yeah.
But not as much as other people would be in shock of, because it's now normalized in a sense that I should expect abuse when I go out.
Just to pick up on that, and I think that feeds into what you were saying, that the idea of you came here and it was strange to be a black body in the white majority when you're used to being, at home in Nigeria, being the majority, and it's not an issue that you're black. And when I'm hearing that, I'm the other way around. I'm used to being in a predominantly white society. So I've got these traits or adaptations to help me maneuver in this society. And it wasn't until I went to the Caribbean, I was in a majority of black bodies, and I was prime according to the men because they saw me as attractive. I had meat on my bones, and I was prime, as in case of a woman that they fancied, that sort of thing. And that was such a weird way of actually being looked upon with desire and as a good thing, or as attractive, as beautiful. And so then when you're saying that it's normalized here to accept the treatment that black and brown bodies receive from the education system, from the health system, and that to kick up a fuss or to actually to expect a more higher level, or even just a normal equal level of care and understanding and treatment is just, that is crazy. That is crazy thinking. Accept the normal is this is the way that you get treated in the system, because you are not recognized as a human being with feelings.
No, exactly.
with sensibilities, with any worth of value, to be treated
Mm-hmm.
with any worth or value. And
Mm.
that just so pisses me off. and
Trust me, I do too. It's
yeah,
very um,
frustrating.
frustrating, upsetting, disgusting, just sad as well. On the other side of the people who believe that yes, there is their privilege that they get from this, but I think it's sad that you close your eyes to such a brilliant experience that you could have. The fact that people are like, oh well, this isn't your country, so don't talk to me about anything about the fact that we have such a vile system is very, very disturbing. The fact that you are human means you are evolving every day, and you should be seeking betterment of others and yourself. It's very disturbing. It's how that I just experiencing that in the health service. I was sad to see that, and I wondered how many black women have died in hospital because someone was careless and horrible and racist enough to think, well, she's probably in less pain. Don't give her the medication. Don't give her the thing, or move to a cesarean, even though her blood pressure spiked. It's crazy.
We
And
know those statistics have been coming out now that people are actually recording them. That
yeah,
there is, isn't it, that it's 4 times more likely that a black woman would die in childbirth,
yeah,
um, and the child born, stillborn. And it is
mm,
because it's like when black women are in labor,
mm,
it's when they're saying, hey, this is happening to my body, will you listen? I don't
mm,
feel right, something's
mm.
not right, can I get some extra help here? It's
Mm.
like we are not heard, we are
No,
not
they don't
listened
listen to
to,
you.
and we are not heard. And I just get an image now of being in some kind of glass vacuum, and you're
Yep.
screaming and banging and hurting yourself to be heard by those who
Yeah.
are just looking in and just having that attitude, well, nothing to see here, nothing to
Yeah.
hear here, let's just move along, she's fine, she's overreacting. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's dangerous. It's life.
dangerous.
Like I say to everyone that I meet whenever they have any symptoms of what I believe to be a symptom that could lead to a cancer diagnosis, I always push them to go to the doctors. And they say, well, the doctor sent me back. And I said, look, I wouldn't be here if I didn't refuse to leave my GP's office. I
Yes.
sat in my GP's office and she kept telling me it's trapped wind. And I said,
Trapped
look,
wind.
yeah, I look pregnant. My belly's swollen. I'm in pain. I can't sleep. It's been like this for weeks. Yeah, she said it was trapped wind. And she did some tests. She did a urine test and a blood test for pregnancy. And she said, well, you're not pregnant. I said, well, duh.
I said I wasn't, if you were listening.
Yeah. And then she wanted me to go home. I said I wasn't going to leave until she did something. And I remember her look. She put both palms up in the air and she was swiveling around in her chair going, I don't think there's anything I can do for you. Basically, it's all in your head. And I said, no, I'm not leaving until you do something. So she sent me to the hospital for an x-ray. And it was the assessment nurse, a white lady, Irish descent lady, who actually said, "Oh, to be honest with you, you need an ultrasound, not an X-ray. You don't need an X-ray of your chest. You need an ultrasound of your belly, because that's what's swollen." So that was how they found Fred, my tumor. They found Frederick laying, was floating in a vacuum of water.
And that was the end of part 1 of the episode with Jola. Please take a listen to part 2, where you'll find out more about Fred and Jola's recovery from cancer and how nature helped her to recover. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.